All right, friends, welcome to the third SAT style problem review video. Okay, so we got three problems again, just like the other videos. And these problems, once again, are extremely similar to problem types in our practice SAT that we saw. All right, first, what is the slope? And that does say slope. I know that my P kind of curls around. It almost looks like an A there, but that is an O. What is the slope of the line in the XY plane that passes through the points negative 3/4, comma 3 and negative 1/2, comma 5? So we are going to use our slope formula. Slope is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. One thing that I should caution you about is you should probably get in the habit of substituting negative numbers into formulas using parentheses. So my y2 value is 5, my y1 value is 3, and in the denominator my x2 value, negative 1/2, and I'll just drop that in parentheses, minus my oh no, wait, I did that right. Negative 1/2 minus my x1 value of negative 3/4. Sorry, I don't know why I freaked out for a second there. I thought I was doing something wrong. I totally wasn't. And here's why we need to put the negative in parentheses. It's that we don't confuse this negative from the formula with a negative that we just substituted into the formula. These two negatives actually cancel each other out and become positive. So let's clean this up a little bit here. We have 5 minus 3, probably should have just simplified that, over negative 1/2 plus 3/4. Now, obviously 5 minus 3 is just 2. In the denominator, we need a common denominator. In our denominator, run out of room a little bit. Let's come up here. So we have 2 in the numerator, and now for sake of common denominator, instead of negative 1/2, we'll call it negative 2/4 plus 3/4, and here is the bit that I wanted to get to, 2 over 1/4. When we have a fraction in a fraction, with fractions in a fraction, we can multiply the numerator. The numerator is 2, and multiply that by the reciprocal of the denominator. And that turns out to just be the whole number 8. So remember to put negatives in parentheses, and remember, if you get a fraction in a fraction, you can simplify a fraction in a fraction by multiplying the numerator by the reciprocal of the denominator. All right, the next question that we're going to take a look at, some sporting team won exactly 85% of the games that they played. Which of the following could be the total number of games that they played? So I'm going to show you the conceptual way to solve this, and then there's kind of a shortcut because it is multiple choice and they give us some answers here. So the conceptual way to think about this is 85% as a decimal is 0.85. Now as a fraction, that is 85 1/100ths. Now I can divide a 5 out of this numerator and denominator. 85 divided by 5 is 17. 100 divided by 5 is 20. So 85% as a fraction represents 7 out of 20. The total number of games should be some multiple of this denominator. And the only number in our little list that is a multiple of 20 is, of course, 40. And that is the answer. There's another way of thinking about this. Although, never mind. We want to think about it this way. The other way, I was going to use the calculator, but this was actually a question from the non-calculator part. I'll tell you anyways. Okay, so there is another way to solve this. It's easier if you had a calculator, but if you took 23 and you multiplied it by 0.85, we'd be looking for a whole number. And if we get something that's not a whole number, then this would not have worked. So 5 times 3 is 15, and I can stop right there. Don't need to go any further. This will not be a whole number when I add it all out. I mean, all right, let me finish it off, but we got 11 there. Here's my decimal, 0, 4, carry the 2, 16, 18. Okay, so it was 19.55 when you multiply 23 times 0.85. And very similar, if you were to multiply 0.85 times 44, I would not get a whole number. If I multiplied 0.85 times 65, I do not get a whole number. But if I multiply 40 times 0.85, okay, 5 times 0 is 0, 5 times 4 is 20, the 0, 8 times 0 is 0, 8 times 4 is 32, so we get 34. When I multiply 40 times 0.85, I get a whole number. The other two, 44 and 65, will not multiply to be a whole number if you multiply by 0.85. So two ways to think of it, either 85%, what is that as a fraction of whole number over whole number? Okay, the total must be some multiple of this denominator. Or if you just multiply 85% by these, see which one gives you a whole number. The others don't give you a whole number. All right, the last question I'm going to talk about in this video, how am I doing on time? 7 minutes, okay. Last thing I'm going to do in this video is this last problem, which I have to admit, even when I read this the first time, I was scratching my head for a moment until I realized that this is actually one of the easiest questions wrapped up in a super complicated looking package. So let's go through this. 120x plus y equals 1,320. A coffee shop is running a promotion where a number of free coffee samples are given away each day. The equation above can be used to model the number of free coffee samples y that remain to be given away x days after the promotion began. What does it mean that 11, 0 is a solution to this equation? Well, what they're really asking us here is, what do these variables mean? And they kind of tell us right here in the problem. X is the number of days since the promotion began. X is days after the promotion began. So X is days. And what does y represent? It actually tells us in the problem. The equation above is used to model the number of free coffee samples given. So y is equal to number of coffee samples that remain to be given away. So the number of coffee samples left over, really. So x is the number of days, x equals days, y is the number of samples left. And if you realize this ordered pair is x comma y, what this is telling us is that 11 days there are 0 numbers of coffee samples left. So 11 samples given away each day? No, that's not what it's saying. It takes 11 days during the promotion to see 1,320 customers? No, that's not what it's saying. It takes 11 days during the promotion until no samples remain. Yes, that's what it is saying. Because once again, when X, the day, is 11 days after the promotion began, the number of samples left, Y, is 0. 11 days into the promotion, there are no samples left. And 11 samples at the start of the promotion, no, that's not it either. So this was an extremely long-worded problem, and the answer is literally right in the problem. They're asking us, basically, what does X and Y mean? What does it represent? And they tell us right in the question. So, some strategies and things to think of when doing SAT-style problems. All right, cool. That spacebar did not stop this video at all.